Hello, everyone, wherever you are in the world today, right now. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jimmy Quinn, President of IOSH, and I'll be your host for today's session. IOSH, as you know, is one of the world's chartered body for health and safety professionals, and I would like to welcome you all to the first in a three-part IOSH COVID Unlocked webinar series, where I'll be joined by three panelists from three of our IOSH sector groups. To look at how the food and drink industries, construction and logistics and retail have fared during the pandemic, and in particular how these sectors have managed to innovate and set themselves up for a brighter future, despite all the difficulties the past year has had. There's been a small change to today's lineup, as Craig Foyle is now unable to join us, but instead we have Mike Evans, who has kindly agreed to step into his place. Thank you very much, Mike. Indeed, the strapline for the COVID Unlocked series is how fighting the virus today shows innovate for tomorrow. The series will be driven by members of IOSH sector groups, as I've said, with panelists for the second webinar on the 20th of May, so get that in your diaries. Coming from the institutions, hazardous industries, rural industries and offshore groups. The third and final session will take place mid-June and hopes to involve representatives from those IOSH groups representing education, health and social care, plus public services and environmental waste management. More details on parts 2 and 3 will be made available in due course. But today's session will look to highlight how businesses from the food and drink, construction and logistics and retail sectors have seen the universal trail of business disruption left by COVID, as well as all the human tragedy, of course, yet managed to change to survive and in some cases actually thrive. How have these sectors found a way to succeed and build their hopes for at least a COVID as usual, if not post-COVID future? And how have IOSH professionals from these sectors helped to keep businesses safe and their work safer? Will be some of the questions that we'll be looking at. Critically, how might their success in the face of COVID be translated to other sectors? How can IOSH people learn from the struggles and achievements of fellow professionals working in different environments? I'm delighted to be joined today on the first panel for this series by three highly regarded IOSH experts. Firstly, let me welcome Malcolm Shields, a great colleague and friend from sunny Newcastle. Malcolm, who like me is a chartered fellow of IOSH, chairs the IOSH construction group. In fact, I'm Malcolm's vice chair, and works for infrastructure specialist Costain Group PLC. Hello, Malcolm. Malcolm should be coming up on your screen now. Next, from even sunnier Trinidad and Tobago, may I introduce you to Ria Suknarin, IOSH professional with Massey Stores supermarket chain. Ria handles communications for the IOSH Logistics and Retail Group, as well as acting as treasurer for the IOSH Caribbean branch. Thank you for joining us from the Caribbean, Ria, and Ria should be popping up now. Finally, we have Mike Evans of the Food and Drink Industries Group. Mike is the communications coordinator for the group with 40 years experience in the industry, of which the last 20 years have been with a focus on health and safety. Welcome, Mike, and again, thank you for stepping in. And Mike should be popping up now, and it's great to have you all with us today. So, panelists, now that you're all here and you should all be unmuted, let's just go into the first question. I'm going to direct this question to you straight away, Malcolm, if I may. Can you tell us of one major problem COVID-19 caused your business or your client's business and what you did differently to overcome it? And when Malcolm answers this question here, I'll be bringing in Ria and Mike to contribute to the answer. On you go, Malcolm.
Cheers, Jimmy. I think, yeah, probably the biggest logistical problem we had was in terms of completing our starter shift briefings and inductions, which generally would have been held, particularly inductions in an internal enclosed training room, and the starter shift briefings tended to be held in a similar type of environment. So straight away we were kind of, right, how are we going to be able to do this? How can we still get across our key messages to everybody that needs to hear them, particularly the starter shift briefings, which we hold before the start of every shift, and they're absolutely key. So we kind of looked about at what was available, and we were lucky enough to be able to grab a bit of a large warehouse area that had lain dormant for a while, and we literally turned that into an internal briefing area. Loads of space. We were able to mark out socially distancing. We were able to open, shut our doors, get ventilation through, and we could still kind of deliver those start to shift briefings and inductions. So I think, as you know, most construction companies did, we had to react quite quickly, and that's what we did, and we got that established. You know, simple things, bringing in a PA system, a nice structured way of individuals signing to say that they'd received induction, and all in line, and set up different tables so we didn't have loads of people lining up in one queue, potentially breaching social distancing, etc. So that was a major problem for us, because it's a key element of the way we control and look to mitigate risks, to make sure that everybody's got the information they need. And we were lucky enough, as I say, to source that kind of area to be able to deliver them in, and that definitely helped to overcome it. Yeah.
What would have been the plan B then, Malcolm, if you hadn't managed to resource, you know, a great piece of, you know, estate?
The plan B was to hire in marquees and use those, so we were still able to bring a lot of people together at one time. You know, social distance. We've got the floor marked out and everything. And with a marquee, we would have been able to open up two sides, which would have given us, you know, that through ventilation, and we would have been able to comply and obviously not just comply, more importantly, keeping people safe and contributing towards what we all needed to do at that time.
Brilliant. Well, great. Ria, do you want to come in and comment on Malcolm's points there?
Sure. So one of the major problems working in a high volume retail environment was that the contact with people was inevitable. We had many cases where customers would not observe the COVID-19 protocols. For instance, the crowd control measures, hand washing, hygiene, wearing face mask coverings. To address this issue, we implemented technological solutions to reduce and help eliminate the probability of persons making contact with the contaminated surfaces and making contact with someone who may have the virus. And these solutions included the installation of automatic doors, automatic soap dispensers and faucets, the development of applications that the staff and members of the public can use for specific tasks, and the use of video conferencing tools to allow for remote working and reduce that face-to-face interaction. We also improved our online capabilities to allow that online shopping option and reduce the physical need for persons to go to retail outlets at the convenience store locations.
Interesting, Ria. Would you be probably around the same sort of lines there, Mike?
Generally, yes, the social distancing has been a challenge, especially in our main access route down to our bowl chopping, mixing and filling and hanging lines. And we had the lovely, it's about 120 meters long, lovely marked red for the pallet trucks, the bagnals to go down, and the nice pedestrian pathway barriered off. But there are buttresses coming down every 20 meters, and it's so to walk along, and people are always coming in and out, and we couldn't work out a staggering. So what we did is came up and decided we'd actually use traffic signs. So if you were going in down to the bottom of the factory, as you walked up to the buttresses, you had the two arrows, the up and the down with the big thick arrow, and it was, you have priority over oncoming pedestrians. And for pedestrians coming the other way, we did the similar thing with the two arrows, the narrow one going, give way to oncoming pedestrians. So people, just to remind people to stand to one side as you're coming to these narrow points where basically you couldn't squeeze two people through, or don't try to squeeze through. as a lot of them generally did. So just using a traffic sign as an idea, but as most people drive. So yeah, that was something, you know, different.
It's really, I mean, I am laughing here. I don't mean to laugh so I'm laughing because sometimes the most simplest things are the easiest things as well, aren't they? But sometimes I think we're trying to reinvent a lot of things that we're doing, when really it's just taking the aspects of what we've already got, Malcolm.
Yeah, that's right. In terms of, it's really interesting to hear, you know, the different issues around that people have faced and how they've come over it. And to me, it's just, you just follow those, the basic SHE principles, that we all know and we're all aware of, and that we all constantly try to put into place to keep people free from harm. And then just taking into account the different environments that Ria, Mike, and myself have been facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at it, Ria, you know, just sort of moving on, you know, just continuing on from that question, you know, was it a solution that you've actually found that could, you know, lead to more innovation across all your businesses? And did that one solution you have there go across the whole business? And this is for you all. And is there anything that you did that could benefit the business in the future that you'll keep in even after the pandemic sort of dies down or disappears and moves on? Is there stuff that you're going to continue to do going forward from now, Ria?
Yes, I definitely think so. So 2020 was dubbed as the year of digital transformation, and I think several companies worldwide have embraced this technology through use of video conferencing to allow for remote work, use of applications to perform specific tasks. They're finding that it's a better use of time. They're getting quicker solutions, more effective. The business is transforming. It's becoming more adaptable. You know, there's more opportunity, and depending on the angle you choose to approach it, it's becoming to be quite profitable, and employees are embracing it. The customers, you know, it's a big change, and it's positive feedback. There's also integration with the social media platforms as well to gauge customer interaction, to promote safety protocols, you know, using video conferencing tools to do basic safety orientation and training. So yeah, definitely, it's a tool. These tools will definitely continue to be used, and it would only develop and evolve from here on.
Absolutely, Rhiannon. And just on the back of what you're just saying there as well, I've just had a lovely message from Tracy. Tracy De Cataldo. I hope I've got that right, Tracy. Maybe let me know if I haven't. But we are keeping our one-way systems for our historic monuments, as this reduces the risk of slip, trip and falls within our towers. We felt that the one-way system also helped the visitor with a natural flow around the site see more than they would when left to roam. So people just maybe bouncing from one little bit to the other, but now there's a sort of directed route. I know that whenever I've walked anywhere, whenever I've gone to any museums, or anywhere that I've ever gone to, I've sort of bounced off and forgot about things I wanted to see. I like those sort of one-way routes and systems. So that's a great point, Tracy. Anything to add, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're talking about sort of the left field, and did it lead to anything? So we use traffic signs, and if you excuse the reference, but that basically for the gents' loos, our urinals aren't, they're troughs. Well, we still need our social distancing, don't we? So effectively like alternate. And then it was just, whilst we taped off some of our wash stations rather than putting up screens, someone just came up with the idea of having, I know you've seen them, I call them advertising banners that you pull up. So they are about, I don't know, half a metre wide, and had someone have a picture taken from the behind as though they were performing, having a wee at the urinal. So you pull that up, and rather than tape off, and then on that back with their coat is, you know, maintain social distancing rather than having a tape or a screen. But it introduced a bit of humour, and it was a talking point. And of course, people are talking about social distancing. So sort of, I think people felt a bit more able to have a left field idea after having seen the traffic signs and discuss ideas.
Listen, whatever worked as well, and you just did that bit of humour in there as well, didn't you, Mike?
Yeah.
And, it might have been an awkward conversation a good few years ago, but now it's, we need to be smiling a lot more and laughing, and anything that does create that little bit of laughter while going through the monotony of it all is fair enough. Okay, well, yeah, three great responses there. So what I'm going to do is just move on to another question. And I'm going to do the sort of pre-questions that we talked about first, and I'll go into some of the questions in the question and answer section. So if you do want to ask a question, please put it in, and I will get to them. Anybody that knows me in these webinars will know that I will put the panel under a lot of pressure to get these questions answered. So, okay, coming to you then, Mike. Adopting new technologies and science appears to have been a positive feature of business working through the pandemic. Has this been true for you? And if so, how? And then Ria, if you can come in straight after that as well, because I know that you're really doing a lot of that at the moment, then I'll come to you, Malcolm.
Yeah, I think Ria's already mentioned it. Well, obviously the new to the majority of us, video conferencing, Zooms, Teams were seen as things that people did, a few people did, but we were actually having team meetings sat in the same building we use Microsoft Teams, and it was all about maintaining the social distancing. Yes, how many people can we get in this meeting room? Well, if we all stay in our offices, then we can still talk to each other. And also, actually, especially during the winter, because we have the main factory, then some of the senior meetings across the resource centre, it's a 5-minute walk, and when it rains, it's not brilliant, and you're not in a good mood getting there, and you're not in a good mood having to walk back in the rain. So, but you could now sit, and again, so you've saved 10 minutes. And again, everybody got in the spirit, putting different backgrounds on as well, so they were all good talking points to sort of keep everyone talking and seeing, and some kept changing their backgrounds. So yes, and I think it got people just generally having a bit more of a chat to each other as well, getting to know your colleagues, as well as just being the sales manager, the health and safety manager. Yeah. So that was good.
No, I'm sort of depends what sort of mood I'm in when I wake up in the morning, whether I still like it or not. In terms of meetings and stuff, I think we're just going a little bit too far with the Zoom meeting following on 5 minutes after the last one. You'd never do it in normal life, pre-COVID. But one of the things I do like is that when I became president, people said to me, Jimmy, you're going to have an awful year because you're not going to be able to get out and meet everyone. Well, my God, what a year I've had so far, and it's only a third of the way through. It's fantastic. Never been to so many places, met so many people, reached out. So I really see the real benefits of it. But sometimes in the work part, when I'm working, I think, really? But when I'm doing my IOSH volunteering, Mike, I'm like, yeah, loving it. Yeah. So, I mean, Ria, you sort of commented on that earlier on, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes, I did. So with this new technology that businesses are adopting now, mostly the video conferencing tools, it's proven to deliver speed, convenience, reliability, but it's missing that physical interaction, that element. Sometimes you lose that ability to connect, to interact. We're social creatures, and we need that interaction one every now and then. When you're just talking to a screen all day, it's it can get a little worn.
Absolutely, and there's a great comment just came up from Katie Bennett here. Katie says on Teams there is the functionality to automatically reduce meetings, so they end 10 minutes early to allow for breaks between meetings. And yeah, I know that one, Katie. And there's also the part where if it's a 40-minute meeting, you try to get it to 35 as well, which is what we work to. But Malcolm, you'll be doing a lot of this at the moment, mate.
Yeah, probably still far too much, Jimmy. No, I think it kind of building on the comments from your colleagues there. We, like everybody, all of a sudden went, "Ooh, Teams is lovely, Zoom is lovely," and we used it, and we kind of almost went full circle now in that we said, "Oh, we have to do this." Then it was, "Oh, this is brilliant." Then it was just, I refer back to one of your comments, Jimmy. This is happening far too much. We're having far too many Teams meetings and Zoom meetings because it's so easy to use the technology that way. So we've gone to a point where we've tried to introduce, making sure. Traditionally, people would go send a diary invite, meeting for an hour. So we make them 45 minutes now, or knowing that it might go to 50 minutes, but you're leaving that break, and really have said to ourselves and to each other, do we really need to have that Teams meeting? But because the technology is good and it does allow you to, quickly have a 10, 15-minute conversation with somebody, I think we all just need to get better at that balance and being and treating some of them like a normal phone call and you would have in the past. You wouldn't be on your phone for an hour to somebody. You would ring up, I need to know this information. Yeah, how are you? Great, talk, done, 5-10 minutes, finished. And we need to try and treat the technology that we've got available now in the same way.
Oh, I absolutely get it, and again, it's all about that time management, and it's something I really concentrate a lot on, especially with myself. And I was particularly bad at it. I had a long conversation with my good friend Matt Jackson, doing a podcast for WSP with him this week, and we were talking about the fact that right at the start I'd be getting up, having a quick shower, pulling on my t-shirt, putting my shorts on, flip-flops, going down, making a coffee, and spending 14 hours in front of the laptop. Now I actually get up, I sit and listen to a podcast, I have a cup of coffee, chill, and then when I go into work, I'm not on the computer, and I'm really, really trying, but it is still very, very difficult. So yeah, great points from all of you there. Let's go on to another question then. I'm going to come to you, Mike. Is there an innovation that you've made that's been prompted by coronavirus and that you can see working well in other sectors? You mentioned some other bits and pieces earlier on, but is there something specific in your industry that you can see working well elsewhere?
I would like to say I wish that we had made an innovation. I don't think so, other than I just loved the urinal thingy, which I mean, can apply to anywhere, whether it's in a football ground or somewhere or whatever. But other than that, no real innovations apart from, I suppose, as I say, the video conferencing. I think it has made us less guilty because most of us have been coming into work in the food industry. I think, but by the same token, it's made us less guilty about having the few occasional work from home one day a week. Again, to sort of try and maintain that social distancing, feel less guilty.
Well, I was going to say something to you that I thought was a cracking innovation from the food industry was, and I hope it continues to go. I'm a big fan of Saturday Morning Kitchen with Matt Tebbett. Love it. One of my favourite programs. And when I couldn't go to it, I like to eat out. And I'm hoping that all these Michelin star type restaurants, all these top chefs are going to continue to do the delivery of the food, in the boxes. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Instead of, all that stuff, the match wine, the food, and I think that's a great initiative. Okay, it might stop people going to as many restaurants, but I think it's another good one going forward. If you can't get to London, if you are in the Midlands, and it's going to cost a lot of money to stay over, to have that lovely food and knowing how to cook it coming to your house, I think is another great innovation as well.
I do. Unfortunately, a lot of the posts on the social media I've seen, 2 weeks left to order your box, unfortunately. But yes, I agree with you. There were certainly lots of posts on social media with people that they prepared Marcus wearing or whatever, a sort of meal box. But I think some of them, but yeah, it's interesting.
No, I thought that was a great thing. I know we've been talking really about COVID and people going to work and, all this sort of meetings and stuff, but that was a part of it that I think was a good one. Malcolm, anything from you?
Yeah, I don't know if it can be classed as an innovation. More a kind of an approach we took. I think, like, hopefully a lot of good organisations out there, we have something which I call like personal energy management plans. So we're looking at fatigue and things like that. And what we kind of found is that with, the huge majority of people working from home, apart from the staff that we have out on site working day in, day out, we kind of introduced what we've called a Thrive plan. So we recognised that individuals, some of them would like to remain working at home. Some of them want to alter the balance of working at home, and we wanted to do something that would maybe, as we're coming out of this, that would allow people to have that kind of dynamic working and to thrive. So that's what we did. So it was more an approach than an innovation, Jimmy, but we found that that's helped we'll focus on how are we going to help somebody who's sat in their conservatory for the last 12 months
Absolutely.
actually get back to work. But that's going really well at the moment. So yeah.
Good. Thank you, Malcolm. Ria?
For us, there's not been a particular innovation arising from the pandemic, but there are things that I can see working well in other sectors, such as remote auditing, but specifically for document review, and not so much to replace that physical inspection per se, and developing technology infrastructure with mobile applications and online capabilities that would allow you to go into each data input and trend the data to help analyze and predict what may happen in the business, so you can be better prepared and help guide decision making.
Oh, wonderful. Some really great points there, and I'm glad we got some really great members here as well. Tracy, again, that great point. I'm going to read through a couple of the points. We are trying to introduce digital detoxing, reducing emails and meetings on a Friday, so that we can all catch up with what that cannot be done when you're back-to-back meetings. Imagine that's a welcome to my world, Tracy. I'm glad that we're all on the same page there. I really do try to cut down on that on a Friday as well. Richard, thanks, Richard Gillum. Teams and Zoom, etc., have improved the travel to site carbon footprint. Also, if you need to do training, etc. Also, this webinar, how many people could listen in and out? So the pros and cons level themselves out. I agree. If there's a day that I'm working from home, it's usually a Wednesday. I'm in the swimming pool straight away at 7. I'm back out the pool at 22. I'm home. I'm on my computer ready to go my bowl of porridge at 8 o'clock. So I totally get that one, Richard. And Brenton's going to put a couple of questions into the box in a minute. So we'll carry on then. Here's a nice question. I think this one's going to come to you, Ria. To what extent would you say your workers have contributed to the positive way your business has responded to the pandemic? Well, we could spend all day on this question, I think, so we need to be short and sharp. Ria?
Our employees have been very supportive, especially those on the front line. At the start of the pandemic, as I'm sure with everywhere else, there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, stress. No one knows what's going to happen. And although we had programs in place, such as the EAP, Employee Assistance Programs, available, we realized that it was definitely underutilized, and we were able to revamp those programs and relaunch and get that support that the employees needed.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, and I think we can all concur with that one. Malcolm?
Yeah, I think that was kind of a slow realization and a slow embrace and buy-in, really. And what we found was, when the pandemic first hit, there was a real togetherness that came, that thing that was happening in the community about everybody pulling together and realizing what we needed to do. Then we hit the bit where we hit the second wave and everybody went, oh, not again. And at that point, that was actually the point when we started to get more suggestions from individuals on site.
Yeah,
just from simple things like, the placement of sanitizers and wipes, etc. And why are you putting them there? Because actually this is a place where most people walk by or need them. So from simple things like that up to coming forward with suggestions on welfare out on site. We've got transit welfare units go out every night onto our night shift. So about where to place them and what to put in them, what the guys wanted on site, and that would help them. And everything from even the sequencing of, when we're doing with collaborative planning, the sequencing of work, so that we know that we would have to also sequence the breaks, so that we could get 3 to 4 guys in the welfare unit out, have their break, 3 to 4 more guys in. So really good suggestions and buy-in from the guys on that kind of level.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Mike?
Yeah, I was sort of really echoing what Malcolm said, in as much as I think that realization, certainly from the workforce, that actually this was new to all of us. And I hope it's not heresy to say, and also realizing whilst we were sort of talking and increasing our sort of communication with the workforce, as I said, I hope it's not heresy, but actually, do you know what? Management doesn't have all the answers. But because we were freely exchanging with them, I think they were more felt, and Malcolm alluded to this, coming up with, well, have you thought about this? How about that? Or, oh, I've just come out of here and I noticed this. Can we do that? And there's sort of felt much freer discussing, and this sort of togetherness that we're all in together. We need to help each other, and it's a team effort.
No, I think that's a great point. And just before I clarify on part of that question, just to be clear, I don't have a 25-meter swimming pool outside my house. The swimming pool is 5 minutes from my house, literally. So that's why I can get up at 6:45, be in the pool for 7, and be back home for my porridge.
It's in your back garden.
No,
Jimmy.
no, it's definitely not. Definitely not. But one of the things I found from myself, and you'll probably find this one as well, Malcolm, was the subcontractors. Now, in a project of 1,000 people, I look after I have my extended health and safety team, which is 22 subcontractors. And the positive part of it was the amount of learning and collaboration that came about by being in it together and come up with some great ideas. It was one of my smallest contractors with about eight people. They came up with an outstanding idea. And that was in some of the directional stuff that we're doing in terms of our stairways, which was fantastic. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I feel that in terms of, that sort of positive part of it, yeah, we're going to have the negatives, but subcontractors for me were absolutely key. Malcolm?
Yeah, if anything, it increased the intensity, the level of discussion. We generally, most of us tier 1 contractors will have good kind of structures in place for talking to our supply chain, getting feedback from them, etc., whether that's everything from a safety committee up to supply chain meetings. We genuinely found that the supply chain wanted to be involved and wanted to and almost took more of an active part in those meetings and coming forward with suggestions like that.
Yeah, having to try and pull yourself back and just let them go with it as well. It was wonderful. Any points from Ria or Mike? If not, I'll move on to the next question. Yep.
Next question.
Okay, good. Okay, let's have a look. Do you see a bright future post-COVID, and are you confident your business or your client's business will build back better? If so, why? Now, this will be a great question. Who wants it? I'm going to let one of you speak first.
Well, I'll go first. I think I would pretty confidently answer yes, based on my experiences. And I think, I think to a degree, I work in an industry that has been very lucky in terms of being able to continue to operate throughout the pandemic. I feel for Ria and the area that they've had to work in, and individuals where they've been decimated in terms of not being able to work and open. So we've been quite lucky. But yeah, so I would qualify that by saying the IOSH professional and then industries generally and businesses have had to adapt and learn and come up with, you know, whether that's new innovations, new approaches, adapt what they all have already done. And if we all take the best bits from that, I certainly see a bright future ahead. And if any, you know, individually, if my industry, we look at retail and that, the industry, and we think, crikey, these people have been decimated. As soon as I'm available, I'm going back out into the shops, I'm going back into the cafes, I'm going back into, and I'm going to, you know, spend some money and try and help that business and industry get back on an even keel.
Did you? I don't want to cut you off there. That's great.
All right.
Absolutely, Malcolm. It was great. Did anybody see that amazing advert? I don't know if I'd be allowed to say this, from Tesco's the other day. Did you see it? I thought it was amazing. Every little helps. Don't come to Tesco's for your beer now. Get out to the pubs and get your beer. Don't come to us. I thought, what, you know, whoever came up with that is just a marketing genius, I think, Mike.
Yes, it was. And I think overall, yes, definitely post bright future post COVID. I think that they'll build back better the businesses, because I think, dare I say, traditionally, certainly in the sort of food manufacturing, health and safety, and when you're trying to implement, so sometimes some of the feedback from the workforce is, yeah, you're just doing that, so, you know, the managers are covering their backs, and it's all so that they can say it's not us, it's the workers' fault, or yeah, so you don't have to pay out on claims. But I think my overall feeling is that people actually understood what I believe is the health and safety professional, because you're actually caring about the person's health and safety. Absolutely. Yes, there are those other elements about the business protection per se which go with it, but actually it's ultimately making sure that the individual workers stay healthy and safe.
It's a good point, Mike. I'm just coming to Ria in a moment. But for me, post all this, it's going to be another hazard to contend with, isn't it? I mean, the health and safety should still be the health and safety, but what a time to be a health and safety practitioner at this time, to just show what you're made of, and to be able to innovate and come up with great ideas and be challenged every day is great. But I do see it going forward as simply another hazard that we need to contend with as well, albeit a big one, and we deal with it as we can. Ria?
Yes, I do see a brighter future post-COVID. I believe that the focus on hygiene and mental health in the workplace will remain. Although programs were available before, the essence of its importance seemed to have been lost. So I think now that the employer is focusing on these factors, the employee feels more appreciated. They feel, you know, that their output is being recognized and appreciated, and because of that, you're seeing an improved output from employees, improved productivity, improved performance, the option for the workers to manage their own time, you know, that flexibility, they're getting more done, and I think that alone speaks volume.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Ria. Do we think, all three of you, can you comment on this, do we think that trust would be part of that answer as well? Is trust something that is showing a brighter future? I mean, we're looking at the sort of doom and gloom of things, but surely trust is a great thing to have come out of this.
I certainly believe so. I think people have seen that, well, you know, the health and safety professional is being transparent, as sort of the points I've alluded to earlier. Crikey, this is new to me. I'm doing my best for you, for us as well, so that community. And actually, what a great idea. Yeah, it's the team and the trusting each other to help each other. Yeah, fantastic.
And Malcolm, Ria, you concur quickly? Malcolm?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on. I would agree. That trust is key, and we should have been able, and hopefully most of us have, or all of us have been able to demonstrate and get that trust through. Yeah, by the key word, Jimmy, is integrity. So if you said you're going to do something about looking after people COVID-wise and you've done it, then yeah.
Absolutely key. Yes, Malcolm. Ria?
Same here. Trust and transparency is key.
Awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
Wonderful. We're all on the same page. I'm going to go through a couple of comments in the chat, and then I'm going to come to you for a question. We're going to go into the Q&As now, everyone. So try and be patient. Panel, you'll have literally a minute to answer each one of these questions and comment on them. So no long drawn out answers. So we'll get through all our colleagues that are on the call. Okay, just going through. Chanda, thank you. How to maintain a work-life balance during coronavirus, especially at workplace. Great shout. That is a brighter future. Flexible working. Katie, thanks Katie Bennett. Staff wellbeing has been brought to the forefront in a way never seen before, and our need to respond to the pandemic has meant that our staff have seen tangible change and emphasis on their well-being. The key will be to keep that momentum going. Absolutely, Katie. Great shout. Thank you for your comments in the chat. I'm going to go to the first question that came in, and it came in from Tim Birkin. I'm going to come to you on this one, Malcolm. Can someone discuss COVID aerosol dispersal and control via ventilation? Is positive or negative pressure in an enclosed space better? And can normal ventilation be reversed to extract and filter air in enclosed spaces? Now, before Malcolm answers this question, Tim, and colleagues that are listening, we're not experts. We'll give our view and what we're doing in our own workplaces. So please take it in the way that it's meant, everyone. Thank you, Malcolm.
Cheers, Jimmy. Good caveat there, mate. Well done. No, I think, yeah, it was a really interesting question, Tim. I've been very lucky in that, you know, we're working in construction, we're working outside highways infrastructure. So externally, we've been fine. We've had these large covered internal spaces. So we've been lucky that way. But anywhere where we've had an office type environment, we've gone down the route of just of natural ventilation. We've wanted to make sure that we had that because, as Jimmy said, we kind of just went, right, what are the HSE are saying? What are occupational hygienists saying, etc. And took advice from a number of quarters. And we definitely then went down the route of natural ventilation, and that was the best thing. Yes, mechanical ventilation after that, and to bring in that fresh air and force it in. I'm not sure about being reversed to, you know, to extract and then filter air in. I would have thought, you know, to coin a phrase, you know, that the risk assessment would need to identify that is the you know, the last or the only resort or the only thing that's available to you. And I think there'll be a few things in the hierarchy of control before you get to that point.
Brilliant. Mike? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, not an expert, but anything you listening, like most other people, it seemed it basically still is a respiratory disease transmissible through these aerosols. That's not to belittle the hand washing, but you talk to the experts because they're still talking about the idea of face masks for a long time. So anything you can do in general without being an expert to keep that air moving, and we've certainly been going around offices and talking about, you know, having the windows open, great in winter. That doesn't do our carbon footprint that good, but we've been sick with extra jumpers. But yes, the thing is to keep that air moving overall. I'm aware of systems that are sterilising air, but I haven't really got any experience on it. But it's keep that air moving, don't let that aerosol hang around.
Ria, thank you, Mike. Ria? You're on mute, Ria.
Sorry. I've not experienced any tension with the two, but there's been good collaboration. So yeah, no comment on that one.
Oh, okay, no problems at all. Okay, so just the next question then is a question, and I think I'll take this one actually. Just a couple of points though first. Andrew Rippington, nice idea about the raised advertising ban. I like that one, Mike. Although I must tell you, Mike, that's one of the more positive ones. There wasn't as many liking that, but I'll be quite honest. I like it, but there's some people. Some people not the same pages as me, but no, on true. Some people like it, and some people don't. But they've been taking it very comically. A little bit too much information there, Mike. But no, it's good, mate. And that's what we want. We want to have that bit of a laugh. This is not formal. This is just an informal chat. Andrew, again, have you picked up any tensions between the coalface personnel and the people able to remotely work? If so, that's a great question, Andrew, and it's something that I've been looking at and thinking about when people are coming back to work, because Malcolm and myself, I can only talk about us two, we were back working literally the week after the lockdown happened in sort of March, and I was on site on the 27th of March, and then that was it, nearly every other day afterwards until the end of April. And so all those tensions that I had were all gone, because by the time people are starting to come back to work now, I've seen it all. I'm sort of there, I'm an old hand at it now. And I think that's one thing you need to concentrate, I think, at work now, is those people that have had to work from home, have had no other opportunity but having to work from home. We need to be able to embrace them back into the team and get rid of any of those tensions. Because as long as you are the leader that you're supposed to be, and you're there thinking about these things, about how people are going to be thinking and how they're going to be feeling, then we should be getting ahead of that. So there shouldn't be really any tensions between anybody else. And I know that in my role and what I've been doing at work, Andrew, there's not been any tensions. People have been very welcoming, very understanding, and above all, been very, very kind. Malcolm?
Yeah, I haven't picked up any tensions. We kind of thought that might happen, but because we had key person who you would class as working in the office, we had key personnel, engineers, etc., who we kept in contact with the people in terms of the coalface. So what we did is we increased the presence of the office staff who were seen to be, oh, they're okay, they're working from home, they're fine, at the start of shift briefings. And we actually encouraged them to join in those start of shift briefings and be able to engage with the guys who are then going out to set up the traffic management, going out to be driving rubber ducks around site and that type of thing. So didn't experience much, but we kind of also done things to head it off at the pass.
Great one, Malcolm. Yeah, and that's exactly it, having a look forward and thinking about it. Mike?
Yeah, again, in the food industry, been lucky in that we've been allowed to keep working. No tension in as much as the remote working's been really on a rotational basis, so sort of a part-time basis. So everyone spent some time in the office and also remote working. So no, not real tension. I mean, so discussions about it, and I think also that the people who are working at the coalface have appreciated the fact how fortunate they, as well as the office staff, have been to actually be able to work, for goodness sake. Absolutely,
Mike. Now, great points again. Ria?
Same here. I've not picked up on any tensions. There has been a scheduled rotation. However, sometimes persons who are scheduled to work at home, they often run away to the office because they need to get away from crying children. So that's the only thing.
Wonderful. Brilliant. Malcolm, you wanted to answer a question, just come in there, mate, in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just trying to check which one it was. It was more really just to agree with the comment. I think it was more a comment than a question that the individual had made. But then I've clicked done.
It was about the Zoom meetings, mate.
That's right. Yeah, it was a good comment. Yeah, I think I agree with that comment. It has allowed, in reference to my earlier comments, it has allowed a lot more people to meet with other individuals that they normally wouldn't and manage it that way. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go quickly to a question. You've got literally 15 seconds to give me 3 points on this. We've got loads of questions, but it's a good question from Marta Gonzalez. Which of the new changes do you think IOSH may keep in the post-pandemic world? Do you think that branches and committees will go back to face-to-face meetings, or will we favour the remote environment in order to get a wider reach? Difficult decision. It's a great question, Martha. Just quickly, what changes do you think they'll keep, Malcolm?
I know for a fact that as a construction group, we're going to split the meetings between face-to-face and remote. We're at the end of the day, we're all volunteers, and I think that balance will allow people to function better and contribute that time better.
Fantastic, Malcolm. Hybrid branch meetings, Ria Sukinarine?
I think so, hybrid. I think, health and safety deserves some physical interaction where you can share your thoughts, be in a physical space. I think we'll eventually get back to that, but not in the not anytime soon.
Good. So that's two good ones we agree on. Great. No pressure here, Mike. Have you got one?
I agree with David. I think is that what the comment used to be with the coalition. Yeah, I think the hybrids, because ultimately, I mean, RIAs, we are social, and yes, it has provided loads of opportunities to meet other people, but even when there's a group of you and you feel like this, don't you, suddenly when you want to say something, but suddenly something, and it can be a little bit awkward. So hopefully hybrid meetings still to get that social interaction.
And again, that's up for a massive debate. I mean, Malcolm's great point, you know, opening up, doing group meetings and trying to do one-on-ones, and not one-on-ones, but open mic nights, as you would maybe want to call them, and reaching out that way. I think there's such a massive thing. I've been doing coffee mornings, you may have seen them. I've been reaching out to membership, and that's going to feed in hopefully to part of the IOSH strategy and start and keep engaged with membership. I think we're going to have more of a reach. There is still that branch ethos that we need to keep as well, but everybody is going to have a view on this. That was a great question, Martha. Thank you. Okay, another question here from Samantha Kendall. Very quick answers, please, because we've literally only got a couple of minutes left and we're going to do the poll. So literally a couple of seconds in each answer here. From Samantha Kendall, have you utilised other technology such as wellbeing apps, phone links to intranet, so access to procedures and CO weekly blogs? Anything, Mike?
We haven't. I mean, it's been mainly through video conferencing.
Okay, fantastic. Ria?
Yes, we have utilized, we do use the Microsoft Office Suite and SharePoint, and we use that interface to gauge interaction with the workforce. So it's working, I believe.
Okay, Malcolm?
Yeah, there is a wellbeing app that we've been using, but we'll also been using a lot more because of this remote type work, and then we're looking at digitalization. So a lot more stuff on GIS for things like what trail holes, for water monitoring, on the environmental side, and that's worked really, really well. So we have picked up on a lot more technology. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so the poll just went there, so I think that's it's all been done. Okay, we're approaching the tail end now, so we've got 5 minutes. We'll try and get through as many of these as possible. John Daziel, how many people managed identified key personnel? Is it an unusual situation where you can control a risk at work but not external to work? With this, we have almost inevitable situation where we are likely to have higher absence. How do we identify who or what roles we can't do without, and how did people track this? John, I'm not going to get anybody to answer that question. I'm going to give this question. We've got young Ben behind the scenes. He'll make sure he sends that question to the 4 of us, and we'll answer that question and we'll get that sent to you, and we'll make sure that goes out at some stage. If I'm not allowed to do that, Ben will come back to me in the next minute or so. So we'll get that done, John. Because that question, I think it's going to take a long time. Hi all, I'm currently looking for fresh ideas regarding on-site face-to-face training. How is everyone dealing with important EHS training at their sites? And that's from Marcel de Beer. Ria? You're on mute, Ria. Very good.
Sure, sorry about that. So on-site face-to-face training. Well, right now we're doing it remotely, but we're seeing that there are some challenges regarding the attention, gauging that attention from the participants and garnering feedback from them. So we're not too confident about the effectiveness of that medium right now.
Wonderful, thank you. Mike?
Yes, well, we've still been doing, because most of the people, they've been doing rotational. So yes, some of the groups are smaller so that we're maintaining social distancing in a room. So there's been a little bit more of it, but in smaller groups, really.
Got you, brilliant. Malcolm?
Yeah, similar to Mike, smaller groups and looking at different locations and different environmental situations to deliver it in. as I say, we're very lucky. We've got some large spaces, so we've utilised them. But yeah, some of the training that's done internally, smaller groups.
Absolutely, and that is what we're doing. We're doing sort of a hybrid again of smaller groups. So if we've got a 3-day course, we've got to do the practical. The first 2 days is remote, and then we do that practical in as best a way we can. Obviously, going with the guidelines. Listen, we've got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to come to each and one of you just to summarise for me and just give me some summaries on this. I'll come to you first, Malcolm, then you, Mike, then you, Ria. Malcolm, and just a quick summary of your thoughts, mate.
Yeah, a lot of learning has took place. We need to take the good bits of that learning and the good things that we've introduced, both that we've had to do, and then the one we've built on that, and the good practice that we've entered in, and things like this cross-industry learning and lessons learned is the stuff that we need to carry on doing and making people aware of.
Malcolm, thank you, and thank you so much for your time today. I mean, we are very busy people, but I know how particularly busy you are as well. Mike?
Yes, I think an overall improved sort of teamwork and willingness to discuss, and people willing to come forward and put forward new ideas because they've had the opportunity. And as I said, realising that we are all in this together, but actually that extends to, you know, once the pandemic's gone, in that future, yeah, we're still in it all together. We need to look after each other.
Thank you, Mike. Great points, mate. And Ria?
I think that this pandemic has really forced all workers, all different sectors, you know, they forced us to push the limits with the digital transformation and try to get more innovative for solutions and how to execute tasks, you know, use of apps and other modes. So I think that's excellent.
Brilliant. So lots of great information there, everybody. And again, remember, everyone, we are nothing here on these panel debates without your amazing members and volunteers globally coming to us and taking up their time to spend time speaking to us and sending questions. Your questions that do remain will be answered. I put my email address in the chat, so please, as your president, feel free to reach out to me anytime in terms of the questions and stuff that you've raised today, and I'll happily pass it on to the comms team. Just leaves me enough time now to thank Malcolm, Ria and Mike, as well as each and every one of you participating in this webinar. Great again, and you're all busy people. And you'll find more interesting content on IOSH's coronavirus on our resource pages. Don't forget the second webinar, get it in your diary. COVID Unlocked series will be on Thursday, the 20th of May, when our featured panelists will be from IOSH groups for hazardous industries, rural industries and offshore. Be sure to keep an eye out for the details on the last of the series, which we hope will bring together panelists from groups and health and social care and public services we talked about as well. Just finally, I would just like to give you, the panelists, a massive round of applause, and everybody else will as well. Thank you so much for your time. Lovely to see you all. Great to meet a new colleague, Mike, and take care. And lots of love. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.